Okay, let us start then. Om Jnana-timirandasya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च मां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदाय कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरत्से नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैः पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्त हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। उपं करोति वाचालं परिपूर्णं ध्यायते यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरूदीनताय परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. So we were discussing Sri Isopanishad, and we had discussed 6 verses of Sri Isopanishad. Today we will discuss verse 7. Let us begin. यस्मिन् सर्वाणि भूतानि आत्मैव भूद्विजानतः तत्र को मोहका शोका एकत्वम् अनुपश्यता. One who always sees all the living entities as spiritual sparks in quality, one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? Perfect. Except for the Madhyamadhikari and Uttamadhikari discussed above, No one can correctly see the spiritual position of the living being. The living beings are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of fire are qualitatively one with fire. Yet sparks are not fire as far as the quantity is concerned, for the quantity of heat and light present in the sparks is not equal to that in the fire. The Mahabhagavad, the great devotee, sees oneness in the sense that he sees everything as the energy of the Lord. Since there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, there is a sense of oneness. Although, from the analytical point of view, heat and light are different from fire. There is no meaning to the word fire without heat and light. In synthesis, therefore, heat, light, and fire are the same. In this mantra, the words ekatvam anupashyatah indicate that one should see the unity of all the living entities from the viewpoint of the scriptures. The individual sparks of the supreme whole, the Lord, possess almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not quantitatively equal to the Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity, for the living entity is but a minute part and parcel of the supreme whole. To use another example, the quantity of salt present in the drop is never comparable to the quantity of salt present in the complete ocean. But the salt present in the drop is qualitatively equal in chemical composition to all the salt present in the ocean. If the individual living being were equal to the Supreme Lord, both qualitatively and quantitatively, there would be no question of his being under the influence of material energy. Mantras, it has already been discussed that no living being, not even the powerful demigods, can surpass the Supreme Being in any respect. Therefore, ekatvam does not mean that the living being is equal in all respects to the Supreme Lord. It does, however, indicate that in the broader sense there is one interest, just as in a family, the interest of the members is one, or in a nation, the national interest is one, although there are many different individual citizens. Since the living entities are all the members of the same supreme family, their interests and that of the supreme being are not different. Every living being is the son of the supreme being. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.5, all the living creatures throughout the universe include birds, reptiles, ants, aquatics, trees, and so on, are emanations of the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all of them belong to the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Being. There is no clash of interest. The spiritual entities are meant for enjoyment, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra. Anandamayo Abhyasat. By nature and constitution, every living being, including the Supreme Lord and each of his parts and parcels, is meant for eternal enjoyment. So, meant for eternal enjoyment, Anandamaya Abhyasa, the living beings who are encaged in the material tabernacle are constantly seeking enjoyment, but they're seeking it on the wrong platform. Apart from the material platform is a spiritual platform where the Supreme Being enjoys himself with his innumerable associates. On that platform, there is no trace of material qualities, and therefore that platform is called Nirguna. On the Nirguna platform, there is never a clash over the object of enjoyment. And in the material world, there is always a clash between different individual beings because here the proper center of enjoyment is missed. The real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, who is the center of all sublime. The real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, who is the center of the sublime and spiritual rasa dance. We are all meant to join Him and enjoy life with transcendental interest and without any clash. That is the highest platform of spiritual interest. And as soon as one realizes this perfect form of oneness, there can be no question of illusion, that is moha or lamentation, shoka. A godless civilization arises from illusion, and the result of such a civilization is lamentation. So, godless civilizations such as that sponsored by the modern politicians. So, a godless civilization arises from illusion, and the result of such a civilization is lamentation. A godless civilization such as that, sponsored by the modern politicians, is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. Hmm. So here it says a godless civilization such as that, sponsored by the modern politicians, is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. That is a law of nature. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, no one but those who surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord can surpass the stringent laws of nature. Thus, if we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity out of diverse interests, we must bring God into all our activities. The results of our activities must be used to serve the interest of the Lord and not for any other purpose. Only by serving the Lord's interest can we perceive the Atma Bhuta interest mentioned here. The Atma Bhuta interest mentioned in this verse, the Brahma Bhuta, and the Brahma Bhuta, which is 4:30:20 interest mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, are one and the same. The Supreme Atma or the soul is the Lord Himself, and the minute Atma is a living entity. The Supreme Atma or the Paramatma alone maintains all the individual minute beings, for the Supreme Lord wants to derive pleasure out of their affection. The Father extends Himself through His children and maintains them in order to derive pleasure. If the children obey the Father's will, Father's affairs will run smoothly with one interest and a pleasing atmosphere. The same situation is transcendently arranged in the absolute family of Parabrahman. The Parabrahman is as much a person as the individual entities. Neither the Lord nor the living entities are impersonal. Such transcendental personalities are full of transcendental bliss, knowledge. Mm. That is the real position of spiritual existence, and as soon as one is fully cognizant of this transcendental position, he at once surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. But such a Mahatma or great soul is very rare seen because such realization is achieved only after many, many births. So once it is attained, however, there is no longer any illusion or lamentation or the miseries of material existence. So once it is attained, however, there is no longer any illusion or lamentation or the miseries of material existence or birth and death, which is all experienced in our present life. That is the information we get from this mantra of Shri Ishopanishad. One who always sees all living entities as spirit sparks, in quality, equal one with the Lord, and becomes a true knower of things, what then can be said can be illusion or anxiety for him. Mm. Srila Prabhupada is explaining that the position of the soul and the self is complex. I mean, to ascertain the position of the soul and the self is not so easy. So, Srila Prabhupada is explaining only a Madhyama Adhikari and Uttama Adhikari can have that vision. See, the Shastras explain, the Shastras are talking about karma theories, and the Shastras are explaining that all living entities have to be seen as an instruments of the Supreme Lord. Whether they are knowing or they are not knowing, but they are acting as instruments in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Shastras say that one should never despise the via medium through which our karma is coming to us. So this is transcendental vision because one is able to see that. So not to hate any person, seeing them at the spiritual level, understanding that yes, they are simply acting as instruments in the hands of Krishna. And if Krishna is allowing it to be offered to me or to be given to me, then what reservation should I have? So instrument of karma, that is the point. So this is seeing things with a spiritual vision. From a material vision, everything appears to be nonsensical. Therefore, many times people think life is also nonsensical, everything is nonsensical. But from a spiritual vision, everything has meaning, and everything is ordained for our purification. The Shastras explain that this attitude of the Shastras explain that this attitude of working, endeavoring for one's purification of heart is the right attitude that a sadhaka should install in one's life. That we see, yes, purification of the heart, that my heart is getting purified. And then Sri Ishopanishad is telling that one who is having such a kind of attitude, such a person is always ecstatic, is always happy. Such a person's so the material factors cannot dry away this such a devotee's reserve of happiness. Because such a devotee, he's seeing Krishna in every situation, in every he's seeing Krishna in every situation. And he's saying that okay, my dear Lord, Krishna is arranging this in my life through different instruments, through different via mediums, doesn't matter. But it's coming from Krishna, it's for my purification. Let me accept it. And let me remain steadfast in my vows of practices of devotional service. Failing to see things from a spiritual vision is the very cause of the agonizing experiences for people in this world. So by seeing things materially, people have one creates a mess out of one's own life. So from a material vision, one can never get the answer to the question why this is happening to me, why that is happening to me. But only when one understands and sees the hands of Krishna behind everything can one understand that why something is happening for me or to me is for my purification. The process of waking up follows from a disturbance. Like people are very sleeping very cozy. All of a sudden there is a disturbance because the alarm is shouting and ringing very so the first moment is the moment of disturbance. That disturbance creates the awakening. And then one can get up. Oh, it's high time. I need to go for Mangalar. So disturbance one should not see. See, disturbance does not create the difficulty. Disturbance creates the awakening. And if one is awakened, there is no difficulty. The difficulty is in the state of sleep because one will not be able to achieve anything. In the wake up state, there is no difficulty. So Krishna consciousness proper. So what is the difficulty? There is no difficulty. The difficulty is in Krishna unconsciousness. So when there is difficulty, there is strain, there is pressure, there is uncertainty. Because difficult. Because something is very easy, there is no problem whether it will happen or not. It's very easy. But something is difficult, it will create anxiety. That's the point. Whether I'll get it or not, whether I'll be able to make up to it or not. So that which is difficult will give anxiety. One will be fearful. So fear or anxiety is a natural outcome of Krishna unconsciousness. So the Bhagavatam explains, Vayam Dutiya Biniveshatasya, that one who has taken off his connection vision from Krishna, such a person will be naturally fearful in this material world. Bhaya, because such a person doesn't have any knowledge. So for him, everything is random, and such a person will feel very, very fearful. The state of materialism causes anxiety. Whatever people want, they don't get it. If they get it, it doesn't stay for long. There is anxiety. But the spiritual vision does not create anxiety. So therefore, one of the acharyas he says that the biggest problem is in the humanity, which leads to a lot of miseries, is to consider this material world seriously. The more serious we consider this material world to be, the more we will be tangled into problems. So, and the living entity, you see, the living entity is very minute. Therefore, the living entity gets overwhelmed by Maya. But the living entity is minute. Therefore, no matter what stage of advancement the living entity is in, his or her knowledge is going to be very limited. And the limited knowledge, one is bound to commit disasters. You see, lack of knowledge also triggers imagination. When a person doesn't have knowledge, then that gives a scope of imagination. And you will see that is why lack of knowledge also leads to, in relationships, it leads to misunderstandings. People misunderstand each other. The and therefore you see all kinds of relationship conflicts get resolved when people come together and they are open enough to hear each other. A lot of things get solved and decided and compromised and so on. This is how misunderstanding develop. This is how misinterpretations develop because there is limited knowledge. But the process of bhakti is offering us connection to the Lord through the Guru Parampara. So there is all knowledge which can be transmitted to us through the Guru Parampara whenever and whatever is needed. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is the path of dependence. Therefore, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing, Bahu dukha payachi swatantra jiva dukha dure gelo o padavara. That, oh Lord, this independent life I have suffered so badly. And all this grief and anxiety have gone away as soon as I have started serving you. As soon as I have started serving you. So why does Krishna not give us full knowledge at the same time? The reason is very simple, actually. Why Krishna wants us to always remain dependent and connected to Him. Actually, Jiva is very tiny. They're infinitely small. Therefore, because it's so tiny, even if Krishna wants to give full knowledge, we cannot hold it. So we can hold very small. Like suppose there is a nice lassi prasad, and but one is given a very small cup, which is a 50 ml cup. So what can be done? So so one will have to take it again and again. But suppose one is 1 liter cup, then it is very nice. One can immediately take a lot. So the point of the jiva is 50 ml cup. Therefore, the jiva is always to be connected to the Lord. The immediate information or the immediate revelation which is needed, the Lord can keep giving. This is how we should see things as. Jiva is not full of knowledge eternity. So the spirit soul is made up of the element of knowledge, eternity, and bliss. These elements get activated when the circuitry is complete. That is the point. So what is said is that the jiva has complete knowledge about whatever is needed for himself or herself. Potentially, the spirit soul. Because that component is there. But global knowledge, it may not have. Like we have local maxima, global maxima. So Krishna is global maxima. And what the on the Jiva platform, I can accept global local maxima. So the Jiva having knowledge of bliss is local maxima, the potentiality for knowledge and bliss. The Jiva can rise to a standard where he can have full knowledge, whatever is needed for himself to remain happy. What is that knowledge? Let me surrender to Krishna. Let me take shelter of Krishna. Good times, bad times, Krishna consciousness all the times. Hari bol. So that's the case of the Jiva. And similarly, bliss. The Jiva has very little capacity. So the Jiva cannot experience the oceanic transcendental bliss, but Jiva can drown in that ocean. That is possible. Like that. So Jiva can get, but the material world doesn't even offer a drop. What to say of, Krishna is offering the ocean. Our capacity is in between. So we can realize ecstasy up to our capacity. So therefore, you will see the amount of ecstasy realized is up to our capacity, up to our how we, what kind of relationship we have with Krishna, and how we relate to the Supreme Lord. That is the point. How we relate with the Supreme Lord. So So we have a very small capacity, and therefore Krishna gives us small revelation. And based on that, we take a step forward, and Krishna will give us small little more, and then he will give us a small little more, and then he'll give us a small little more. See, this point is proven also because we will see in due course of time what happens is that that mindset or thought process or realization or experience which in the past had triggered us to take a significant step towards Krishna, one may in due course of time forget that very reason or motivation or inspiration. Like some devotees at some point of time, they were very motivated. They had a great inspiration, motivation, say to join the temple and serve, they're fully dedicated. But 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line, many devotees have this realization that they sit down and thinking, why did I take to this fully dedicated life? And they're scratching their head, but they are not able to reach up to what was the reason or what was the motivation because that motivation forgotten. This material world. That is why the Lord is saying, Arey, this lust is so dangerous. Jnana Vijnana Nashanam. That the knowledge and realization, everything can be wiped off by this lust. Because the jiva has limited capacity. That is the only point. And therefore, to be able to continually remain steadfast, one needs to. So that is why we have to always constantly depend on Krishna, and that is why the way, the directionality to do it is explained in this way. The directionality to do it is explained here, that one should be able to trace, walk, trace, churn, now till the time one is able to see Krishna in every situation, in every endeavor. So therefore, the dependence on Krishna is the only way to elevate one's consciousness. Mental speculation is a merry-go-round. And fruitive mentality, Srila Prabhupada explains like a pendulum. Bhoga tyaga tyaga bhoga tyaga bhoga tyaga bhoga tyaga bhoga. When will one come out of it? There is no exit criteria there. So you see, fruitive mentality, there is no exit criteria. A person will get frustrated, leave it, and then again, not able to hold on, then again grab it, leave it, leave it. So bhoga tyaga, bhoga tyaga, like that. That's what your life all about. Fruitive mentality. Therefore, one has to depend on Krishna. The dependence on Krishna is the best algorithm for peace and tranquility in life. So, therefore, we see that a sadhaka's progressive focus has to be dependent. So, therefore, one has to deny seeing anything separate from Krishna. And that is what is said here, that even all living entities, one should see as spiritual sparks, a part and parcel of Krishna. Whether they know it or not, whether they want it or not, they are being, they are at best serving as instruments in Krishna's hands. So when one sees in this way, then actually one is relating with everything. See, when one relates with everything in its relationship to Krishna, then one can never get hooked. See, here Srila Prabhupada is talking about seeing all the spiritual sparks as united, qualitatively one with the Lord, quantitatively different as united. So when one sees all these spiritual sparks as united, how can one become attached to one spiritual spark and averse to another spiritual spark? It is not possible. All these vikaras of the heart, they only come because of lack of Krishna consciousness. So the spiritual vision, as Srila Prabhupada explains, the spiritual vision actually ignites the family spirit. So Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the family spirit. One will see the whole world as one's family. That means what? And now one is ready to act for the welfare of anyone. Because this is okay, my own family. Just like one family member will not hesitate sacrificing or acting for the welfare of the other family members. Same attitude dance. So the family aspect Srila Prabhupada is talking about. Yes. So and the result is that when one is in this platform of oneness, togetherness, oneness of mission, oneness of heart, oneness of spirit, then there is no scope for any shoka or moha, no lamentation, no illusion. Mm. So when we bring God, then the interest is one, the goal is one. Then there is no lamentation, no illusion. So therefore, we see that because of being separate from Krishna, we are suffering. Because of the atheism, we are suffering. This material world gives us access to the Supreme Lord, provided we want it. So therefore, such a devotee will always be able to see. You see, such a devotee will be able to understand that actually there is nothing else other than Krishna. It is all between me and Krishna. There is actually no other reality other than Krishna. There is no reality other than Krishna. Everything else is illusion, imagination. So it's all about how I am repairing or awakening my relationship with the Supreme Lord. There is no other reality. It's all between us and Krishna. So that is why it is said that one should not be bewildered by the material situations. So it's all between us and Krishna. And that is why one has to remember this thread that everything in this world is just there so that I can repair and awaken my relationship with Krishna. And there is no other external factor, but it is just this point, this aspect of my relationship with the Supreme. Hare Krishna. So let's stop here for today then. If there is one question here, it got disappeared. Sometimes difficulties hamper our practice of Krishna consciousness because it makes more difficult to be Krishna conscious. How to see these difficulties Krishna's arrangement, keeping our practice intact. Yes, the Acharyas prescribe don't take the mental world seriously. Yeah, that works. Ah, that algorithm works. Everything is a mindset, Prabhus. Everything is a mindset. This is the greatest treasure in revelation which Bhagavatam and the Acharyas have given us because everything is a mindset. What we, from one way of perception, something is impossible. But from another elevated way of perception, everything is possible. Like Bhagavatam explained, this, the Narada boy, he left, his mother left her body. So it is explained that another boy was trying to understand the situation in the light of all the spiritual inputs which he had got from the Bhaktivedantas and all the realizations of his experiences of his own little bit of practice. But with all that, he could understand that yes, I mean, he could understand that okay, my mother is not there. So he took it as an opportunity to be completely dependent on the Supreme Lord. He took it as an opportunity. So he saw it from a very different perspective than what people around in the world will see it as. And this elevated perspective came only because of his spiritual outlook to things. Yes, actually. So we see in a similar spirit, Sridhar Swami, he was a little bit in anxiety when he should renounce, take sannyas, and he was not. He was wanting to take a step forward, but then he was getting step back. He was not understanding what to do, when to take the step, and so his wife died, and he understood. Okay, I had responsibility. That's over. Let me take sannyas. But she left behind a baby child. Now he was wondering what to do with the baby child. Yeah. So what to do with that little baby like that? And because he had a spiritual vision, he was able to see that actually Krishna arranges. And because he had full faith in Krishna's arrangement, not that he was irresponsible, not that he was irresponsible, he knew Krishna's arrangement. He didn't had limited knowledge. His knowledge was expanded because he had full connection. He could do full simulations. Like when people want to do full simulations, they need big cloud server systems where they can do simulations. He could do all simulations because he was connected to Krishna and he could get full understanding of what is going to happen and how it is going to happen. Therefore, he took the step forward. Within few minutes, the Lord arranged a couple to take care of the baby. So it's all about perceptions. Yeah. No, so the whole point is how we perceive things. That we have to understand that first of all, I need to have a spiritual perception before I can think of any action. And for spiritual perception, I need to go deep in spirituality, in sadhana, in guidance, and every situation has a solution. So Sridhar Swami, very elevated, he was not needing guidance. He had that spiritual momentum. He could understand the signal given by the Lord and he could move. For us, that may not happen, but for us, there is infinite guidance available all around the world of devotees. So we take guidance and we intensify Krishna consciousness. There is a solution. So it's all about perception. It's all about perception. Very cool. Shri Upanishad ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.